This is the new Realme imaging flagship, and it's flawed. At least the price is flawed. Around £480 in the UK as I record this. Yes, it's a decent enough price for a Snapdragon 855 Plus flagship with 12GB of RAM and 256GB of storage. And the phone is, super speedy and capable for all applications. The usual Realme value for money. However, I was disappointed overall. At almost £500, I was expecting an AMOLED screen. What we have is an IPS LCD panel. It's very good, 120 Hz and all that, but blacks aren't really true black, and the display is hard to see in sunshine when you're out and about trying to use the camera UI. You're seeing the current zoom factor is almost impossible in some conditions. At almost £500, I was expecting stereo speakers. They don't have to be best in class, but they do have to exist. Instead, there's a single mono speaker, which is not bad. Cover version here of a Who classic. I just wanted a bit more. At almost £500, I wanted Qi wireless charging. This is so ubiquitous in my device stable in 2020. It's almost a shock to discover I had to plug a cable in to charge this. True, there's 30-watt charging into a 4200 mAh battery, so it's eminently good enough. But again, I wanted more. At almost £500, I wanted the headline SuperZoom camera to rival the top-of-the-line Huawei P40 Pro here, but in my test it seemed just a little too eager, lightening shots too much, plus its zoomed resolution is lower than the P40 Pros, so it always came off second best. At almost £500, I wanted a metal frame, not plastic here. At almost £500, I wanted some degree of waterproofing, but there's none again. And at almost £500, I was hoping for a 3.5mm jack, in that cheaper phones often retain this, but this falls the wrong side of that line too. You do get a capacitive fingerprint scanner built into the side power button, and this works really well. You get a dual front and selfie camera, standard and wide angle, which is very nice. Plus there's a true portrait mode here. You get NFC for Google Pay, not always a given these days. And as is the modern way, you get a really nice clear TPU case in the box. Software is Realme UI on top of Android 10 with May security. Effectively a stockish Android interface with some small Realme tweaks. You get all the Google apps. You get an app drawer, you get optional gestures, you get dark mode throughout if you want it, and you even get the Google Now Today screen off to one side. So, a very fast and capable Android phone whose components and build are just slightly short of true flagships? Well, kind of, but I'd like to revisit the phone's name and vision, if you don't mind. SuperZoom refers to the 5x periscope telephoto camera. Of course, this works pretty well, and 10x hybrid software zoom is achievable. Let's not pretend that anything over this is worth having though. My main problem is that 5x is too much on its own. So you have a main 64 megapixel sensor that outputs at 16 megapixels and which supports a limited quality lossless zoom to 2x or so. But the vast majority of real-world subjects that need zooming are actually in the 2 to 4x range. Just think of an event where you're zooming into people's faces around you in the garden, or zooming a bit to what the dog's up to, or zooming in a bit on that landmark to fill the frame better. In each case, 2x, 3x or 4x is just right and perfect. And the X3 SuperZoom is pretty ropey for these cases, having nothing but its main sensor to do fancy interpolation and generally make guesses. I've done plenty of tests with my iPhone 11 Pro shooting this show, and also my Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus, my trusty Galaxy, both with 2x telephoto, and both are far more useful day to day. Try to use just 5x periscope telephoto here at a family event, and you'll be filming Auntie Maud's nose and mouth only, or a patch of ground that your pet jumps into and out of frame. You get the idea. The solution is a phone with variable zoom, of course, and they're coming soon. Apparently, the last one I saw was the Zenfone Zoom back in Phone Show 271 4 years ago, but the tech's coming back. Or you have a main sensor, a 2x telephoto, and then a 5x periscope, all trying to bridge the gaps and hope the software's up to seamlessly moving from one to the other. Video test here on the SuperZoom. 1x, 2x, and 5x. Yet again, 5x periscope is slightly too far in, but it's pretty good for wildlife shots. And just for comparison, that is 10x. And the toggles on screen take you back to wide angle, 1x, 2x, and 5x. See what you think of the quality. Audio and video. This time picking something a bit further away, and also using the UI to gradually zoom in 2x, 3x, 4x. And that's the transition to the periscope camera, which should go back. Slightly different white balance, but it's acceptable, better than the early Huawei P30, etc. This is now about 7.5x zoom. Sorry Realme, this is a valid attempt to produce a P30 Pro or P40 Pro competitor at a lower price, but I do worry about the compromises made across the board, and I worry that the single biggest imaging concept flaw from the Huawei phones, that mid-level zoom, is still present here. Now, Realme also does an X50 Pro with a metal build, AMOLED screen, stereo speakers, 2x telephoto, and even faster internals. Something tells me I'd like this a lot more. I'll try to get one in.